to Southern Renaissance. This is Tony Perdue, that's me, and and I've got my special guest here today, Stephanie Jennings. I'm here. She let me come invade her photography space here at Low Mill, which is a really cool area, and I'm just proud to be here. And thank you for doing this, Stephanie.
Oh, I appreciate you asking me, Tony.
Awesome. Well, you know, you've done a whole lot in your life, and I know you've done a lot of photography for just different people, and just amazing some of the stuff you've photographed. Incredible. Let me ask you, are you from here locally?
Yes, so I was born here in Huntsville, Alabama. Didn't think I would be back here after living in Philadelphia for 25 years, but here I am.
Well, I'm glad you made it back. I went up north for a while. I was living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I was thinking, well, I might be up there for a while, but I had to come back. It's like it draws you back in. So
Apparently it does.
It's like a vortex. I don't know what it is. Well, what was it about photography that attracted you to it, that got you kind of into it?
The first time that I developed pictures in the darkroom in high school, it was like magic. It was just pretty incredible that I imagined a picture in my head. I went and took it and then went in the darkroom and did a process with all these chemicals, and then watching exactly what I had imagined come up on the sheet of photographic paper. And it just was very exciting, and I just fell in love with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a different process now from back then when you had that whole extra steps in there, and it wasn't as like instant. Now it's like, I know I do it. I take 1 million photographs and pick out a vault, but you were just more specific, I guess, what you want. You knew what you wanted and went for it.
Yeah, back in the day, every picture was, specifically planned out, and it was very different. Nowadays, you take 1,200 pictures to get a couple. Back in the day, it was 36 pictures on a roll, and you got one.
So it's different. I think I've never really thought about it, but maybe that's kind of changed the almost, maybe you don't have as many candid shots because people have that option now to sort through so many things. You think
photography is just so different nowadays, with people posing for the pictures instead of being able to get realistic shots. It's something people expect now for their picture to be made. It's definitely a different process, and they expect 100 pictures even though they might only want one. And most people nowadays, they never print a picture. All the pictures are digital. They're on their phone. They're on their computer. People don't print pictures. And that's what my studio here, I have a dark room.
Yeah.
So that's one of my things is, printing cool from the old negatives.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you tried to use the old ways of technology earlier before we got on here. I was doing some breakdancing moves and you were trying to capture it, but I was just too fast. And it was like a fabric and time and space opened up, but you were just like, I can't do it, Tony. You're just too good at breakdancing. None of that happened, by the way.
So I'd like that to happen. I think we might have to do that.
Well, I can do some good popping and locking, but like those head spins and stuff, I probably would hurt myself pretty bad.
Well, this is the perfect place. We can put out some cardboard for you to spin around on.
Yeah, like these floors at Low Mill, they're kind of oiled, right? So that maybe they make you maybe you would spin too fast, so like it would start like starting a fire with 2 pieces of wood.
Don't want to start a fire here. Not in a photography studio.
Oh, yeah, that would be a bad idea.
That would be a very bad idea.
Now you see why I have this printed out, because I'll go on a tangent without these.
That's okay. I didn't expect anything less.
That's right.
I did not.
You know me pretty well
less.
already. My brain moves really strange ways. That's synapses and the neurons are just firing in all directions.
That's it.
We were talking about your photography. Over the years, you've taken photographs of lots of rock stars.
So that was my main focus back in the day. In Philadelphia, I wanted to be a rock photographer, and I just went for it. I had in college had taken pictures at the fraternity parties, the Black Crowes, 10,000 Maniacs, REM, played on campus, and I had taken their pictures, and it was just something I really wanted to pursue. So when I went to Philly and all these bands were around, there was so much going on, I just started taking pictures for a local magazine. And pretty soon, I had a portfolio, and I was able to take it to the radio stations, to the record companies, to an agency in New York, to the metal magazines in New York. And I started getting published and got an agency representing me, and just started doing the MTV Awards, the Grammys, all the things.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I've seen the pics, and I'm just like, wow, you've you've shot a lot of people. I mean, I can't even name off all of them because I've seen a lot of your just what you've posted on like the internet, and it's crazy the amount of people, especially for, I guess, a time period there at MTV. There were a lot of the artist awards, I guess, like you say. And you said you worked at the Grammys too?
The Grammys, wow. The MTV Awards, the MTV Movie Awards. Just lots of rock shows that were in festivals back in the day, from Lollapalooza to everything that was in New York and LA. And it was a great time to travel around and, take pictures of all these up and coming bands at the time, Metallica, Nirvana, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it's amazing, like, their music has lasted through today. So it's still exciting that my pictures are still relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's cool. Like you were saying, it's almost like magic. You've captured that one moment in time, and you now have that, and it's very cool. I've always been fascinated with that too, just images and just capturing that moment. I'm trying to keep it on the down low, but this is actually more anthropology. This is Southern counterculture anthropology right here. I'm trying to get all fancy, but yeah, it's just such a cool thing. And I know then the same with music, with digital things now, it's easy to take for granted what we can do with it. It's just so easy to take a billion pics or find any pic now, and or music or whatever. But it's just a cool thing. There's the composition, and just there's art to it, but there's also you're documenting something, so there's different things going on. I don't know.
Interesting to try and explain to someone about let's say this photo right here of Anthony Kiedis with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that I had to get a photo pass, and I had to get permission to go and photograph him and be in the front row, and there weren't many other photographers, and taking the film home and going into my darkroom at my house and developing it that night, printing the pictures that night to get them to the newspapers and magazines the next day.
Oh yeah.
That was a whole process, which explaining that to somebody nowadays, it's a lost art, because nowadays, people don't understand like what it took to get that picture. They think I saw, I had somebody talk about one of my pictures of Cindy Crawford. They thought I must have seen her just walking along the street and took the picture with my cell phone. And that's how it came about. And it's like, I was the red carpet photographer, at an event. And, she posed specifically for that picture. And then I had to go home and develop it and get it out to the magazines. It wasn't where you could just, went through the internet and ended up online. It was something like tangible and you actually had to make happen.
You had to run it through the juices and whatnot.
And whatnot.
I don't want to get too technical, but the juices and whatnot, that's how they pretend like I know what I'm talking about. Well, that's another thing you did, which is pretty wild and really groundbreaking. It was sort of, they were pulling the old-timey vaudevillian and circus type themes into the modern day in the 90s, but the Jim Rose freak show, or Jim Rose sideshow, I guess.
Jim Rose Circus sideshow.
Circus sideshow. Thank you. I was like, what's the proper name?
Jim Rose Circus sideshow.
You could probably see it that I was like, my gears were turned. Okay, what's the proper name, Tony? So, but that was a pretty crazy time. I know you toured with them, right?
Yes. So I took pictures of them in the 90s. I was fascinated with the sideshow freaks, and their troupe just amazed me, and I couldn't get enough. And some of the pictures were just, their performances were just absolutely incredible. And then they were on tour with Lollapalooza on the side stage. And it was just pretty amazing that other performers, such as the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Ministry, and the people would get up and be on the stage, excited to see the Jim Rose Circus sideshow. So, and nowadays, bringing it all back around, I've been photographing the same performers from the original Jim Rose Circus sideshow. And all of those photos, the old photos went into a new documentary called The Circus of the Scars, although the book was written in the 90s that it's based on. Cool. But yeah, so I've gotten to take new pictures of these same freaks. So over this 30-year span, so they're still performing, and it's been very interesting.
I bet. I can't imagine. And I've lived a pretty crazy life, been around a lot of crazy things, but they really took it to the limit. Like, you have one guy, and it's funny because you're so used to it, and like we were setting up some pictures and stuff for the shot, some awesome picture, and you're like, yeah, let's go ahead and put, what is his name? Mr. Torture?
The Torture King.
The Torture,
yeah,
you're like,
Tim
okay.
the Torture King.
It's like you were just setting a vase on, we'll go ahead and put the Torture King right there. And
exactly.
It's just so normal. But they did all kinds of crazy stunt. I know I was interested in it when it came out. I remember that, and just because I love the crazy over the top circus stuff and just the showmanship too. One of my idols when I was a little kid was Houdini before I even got into music. So I
can
get
see
that.
that.
Yeah. You're like, I see you're a freak.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
So that's why we connect.
That's exactly. But yeah, what was it? I was seeing, I know there was one thing I saw where Jim Rose was like face down in broken glass, and he was letting people from the audience step on his head into the broken glass.
Yes, I've got lots of pictures of that. So, and you can see it happen in the documentary. Yeah,
I was going to say, I checked out the trailer. It looks like an awesome documentary. Just crazy. I'm trying to think of some of the stuff they did, and just I know he would. Besides
this sword swallowing, and he would staple the dollar bills to his head and other parts of his body. Escape from the straitjacket.
Oh
yeah. Just all kinds of different things, and then of course Mr. Lifto, lifting all different things from his body parts.
And body parts, we say that like I know he's like swinging around some irons, and I like literal like things you iron with from his nips on part of it, and then he's got other stuff going on. So it's pretty wild.
And so he's actually a bartender, and now. But he still does some performing, so I'm looking forward to getting all 5 of the Marvels together, and we're going to be doing a new photo of all 5 of them as soon as we can get them together.
Very cool. Yep. Is it true he actually serves drinks with his nipples? Because I've heard that.
I think I'm going to have to go check that out.
Okay.
That's where the buttery nipple came from.
The buttery. Nice. Oh, man. Yeah, it's wild. What's the most, that from what you remember, the most cringeworthy thing that you shot a picture of? Because I feel like it would be hard to hold the camera still on some of that. It'd be like cringing.
The cringeworthy shot is when Matt the Tube Crowley, so he does this thing called gavage, and the gavage is he puts a tube down his throat into his stomach, and Jim Rose had a cylinder that he would put like beer and chocolate and Maalox and all kinds of stuff in it and ketchup, and then he would pump that into Matt the Tube Crowley's stomach, and then he would pull it back out, and it would be served up to anyone who would like to drink that, and it would be called bile beer, and that's where the members, I have a picture of Flea drinking the bile beer, the guys from Ministry, yeah. So during Lollapalooza, it would be a thing to get up on stage and drink the bile beer from the gavage.
Now that, yeah, and this is way pre-Jackass.
Yes, yes.
They were going hardcore.
Yeah.
But it still had that traditional, actual, like the freak show vibe to it.
Yes.
I know that it seemed like it was honoring that tradition.
It was definitely honoring the tradition. That's what, Jim Rose, he was definitely a ringleader, a true salesman, and, the world's most tattooed person, and,
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the Enigma, right?
Yes, the Enigma. And one of my favorite things is that I have pictures of the Enigma before he had any tattoos, when he was actually called Slug. And one of the reasons being is he would eat slugs.
As one does.
Yes, yes. But now he is the Enigma, and he's the man with all the tattooed puzzle pieces. And he actually tattoos puzzle pieces on people nowadays.
Okay. Well, that's... He's like, I've ran out of skin to put puzzle pieces on. I got to find other pieces of skin to put puzzle pieces on.
And I actually feel like... I am the world's only untattooed lady, but I was thinking about letting the Enigma tattoo a puzzle piece on me.
Yeah, so that would be pretty.
I think that would be meaningful.
Yeah, would be.
We've been friends all these years. And,
I was going to say, especially with your background, just you touring and, like you say, being friends all those years. There's you got a picture we don't have in the shot of a fella. I think, is that the Mr. Lifto swinging with his genitalia?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That, of course. That's Mr. Lifto lifting with his genitalia.
Yeah.
That one in Philly, I think he was lifting the Liberty Bell.
Okay. As one does. Yeah.
And swinging it around.
I mean, it's such a tired, everybody's done that. I mean, how many people hasn't lifted the Liberty Bell with their junk? I haven't. Yeah, that's pretty unique.
So yeah, I mean, if you're in Huntsville, when hopefully we'll get them to come here, and what can we have him lift for Huntsville? A rocket. We'll have to get a rocket ready. There we go.
That would be perfect. I'm sure that wouldn't be dangerous at all. That weighs how many tons? I bet he could do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I believe in him. He's that's
one of a kind.
I would say it takes a special kind of person to just subject yourself through that for the entertainment of individuals, because none of that was fake, right? I mean,
it
they
was
were
all
really
real.
Doing all that stuff.
That's what, if you watch the documentary, it is very interesting. How everything came about, and doing the new tricks, and getting doing the stunts, and just getting more and more extreme, and what could they do next, and what would be interesting, and let's try this, and and with the Torture King, he is the human pincushion, so he literally would have lots of pins all in his torso and arms, and putting skewers through his skin. He's a master of pain control.
That apparently so. And I've actually heard of I don't know if it's monks or a certain way, you can block it out somehow if you have enough control, I guess, over your
mind control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so interesting, but I can't even imagine.
So I just went to New Orleans and photographed the sideshow Hootenanny, and the Torture King got a Lifetime Achievement Award.
As he should.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
That is wild. Yeah, I can't imagine being and what I saw another one, I think, is it Jim Rose did this, that he would lay on the bed of nails and people would get on him that way, jump up and down on him.
Yes, and the Torture King also.
Oh man, yeah, that's wild.
It is wild.
Well, it kind of reminds me when I worked in video and broadcasting, I actually shot some video for some surgeons and had to shoot some different surgeries. And one was like a total hip replacement, and he was having to saw it and like hammer it in there. And at the time, this was back when a lot of viewfinders were black and white. And I was like, I'm so glad this is black and white.
Yeah.
And the anesthesiologist, I remember, was like, the first time I did it, he was like, you don't look, and he made me sit down because he saw I was about to pass out, I guess. So that's like even worse, but not under the care of a doctor. Just you're like recording things.
It's very interesting being behind the camera and watching this stuff. It's just the whole sideshow and what they do just has always fascinated me, including from sideshows that I caught back in the woods of Tuscaloosa. That's where I've got these, small people and large people. And
I wondered about that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And they would carry around, the jars with the two-headed, alligator, the three-headed monkey, and the jars in formaldehyde. Just all of that stuff has always fascinated me. I think some of the stuff that fascinated my grandfather, and that's where it would come from.
Nice. Yeah, that's. It's really that's on the fringe. Some people say like, say the analogy of you're crazy if you're going to go and join the circus, but that's like one beyond. That's like
there are the
to
circus.
The extent, to the full extent. Well, I know I just asked you, were there a lot of hospital visits with this sideshow? I mean,
no, that's what, no. I mean, they're, part of the troupe is really taking care to do the things, safely, which again, people trying to do a lot of it nowadays. I have read about a lot of visits to the ER with some of the performers nowadays.
Okay.
Because this was real stuff back in the day, and they trained for it.
So they wanted to make it look chaotic, but they're actually taking a lot of care and studying and really training.
It's one of those "don't try this at home,"
literally.
Which I think this autographed picture one of them says, "Don't try this at home,"
as it should.
Yeah, I'm not going to be fire breathing at home.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Man, well, what was the you've got the. Oh, I was going to say you've got the photography exhibit here at your studio during the month of October. If anybody's listening to this before then, you should come by and check it out. You've got all your we've got a few in
since
here.
Since it is October, it is Halloween. I always put my freak show photos up. These photos from the Jim Rose Circus sideshow, in addition to other sideshow events that I have photographed. So it's a little bit of a freak show, and I have the slideshow of hundreds of photos going in the window. So anybody can come visit Low Mill the month of October and check out, get your scare on. Come get freaky with the freak show.
That is it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm very desensitized, and even I'm a little freaked out with some of these pictures. So that's saying something. That is something right there. Well, as far as we'd already talked about the Circus of the Scars. That's a documentary. How did that? So that was the book. It was a book for it in the 90s, and then they decided they were going to make a documentary.
Correct. So it's kind of the rise and fall of the Jim Rose Circus sideshow.
Okay.
It's how it gained such popularity and notoriety in the 90s and what caused it to implode. And because Jim Rose did and still does have a huge ego. And now with, and it shows the performers where they are nowadays and part of it. And my pictures, they contacted me, and I had all these amazing pictures from photographing so often back in the 90s, and they used my pictures in the documentary.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And so hopefully the documentary, Circus of the Scars, we will be bringing it to Low Mill and getting some of the performers to come. That would be
so cool.
Yes.
I'm going to have to come check it out.
Yeah. So we'll try and make that happen.
Going. Yeah, that would be awesome. Maybe we get some of those guys on the podcast. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. There you go. It'd definitely be cool.
Well, you know, I know this is a sensitive topic right here, but you being around all these rock stars and stuff for a little while, you were actually Phil Spector's girlfriend, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was an interesting time.
The 90s was a wild time
yeah,
for me.
it sounds like it. Sounds like it. So I know that had to have been crazy. How did that come about? I guess you meet him because like common people that you knew?
I met Phil when I was photographing an event in Philadelphia, Philadelphia, one of the music events, and he was the keynote speaker. And so we met, and I ran into him a few weeks later in a restaurant. It used to be a popular restaurant in New York called Elaine's. And I happened to be in there with a friend, and Phil was in there with his friends, and I just photographed him. So I said, hey, just met you last week. I just photographed you.
Oh, yeah.
And so he invited me to sit down at his table.
Okay.
And the rest is literally history because it's all in a documentary called Spector on Showtime.
That's right. And you're in episode 3, right?
I am.
So, yeah, it's a very, it's interesting. It's kind of, I've just thought about this, because he put out a lot of good music. Some of the stuff he produced with John Lennon and Be My Baby, one of the best tracks ever, and just a lot of different things. But you realize, well, just because someone's art is good doesn't mean they're great people. There's a sort of a thing there that's hard to.
Yeah, a lot of artists, it seems like, have not only chemical dependency issues, alcohol issues, but also just mental health issues.
Sure.
So, and back in the day, that wasn't really something that was discussed. Mental health issues didn't seem to, nobody ever talked about it. And drug and alcohol use was, that's what we did.
Yeah. It was just, he's eccentric, or, he's just
he's a genius. So, people wanted to work with him, and they would let him get away with saying and doing things, and he would just say and do things to the extreme to entertain himself.
So he would actually, I know he was known for carrying a gun around, even in the studio and stuff, and like pointing it at people, right?
Yes.
That's crazy. I mean,
yes.
And I didn't know about any of it. You hear Be My Baby, you're not thinking, man, that guy's probably holding a gun to somebody's head, but it's.
Yeah, you don't think that.
Yeah.
But that was, that was just kind of his, by the end of the night, after everything, everybody was having a good time, and then things would just go bad at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Almost every time.
Oh, man. So you think it was a combination of mental health things and then just the substance abuse.
And the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that many people, I get the feeling that he was probably insecure, and then that many people building up constantly like that, it was like, it made him feel like, oh, I'm somebody, And
it was just always to the extreme, and he was definitely paranoid. That somebody was always out to get him. One of his famous quotes that he would say to me was, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean somebody's not out to get you.
Oh, man. Wow. That's an interesting quote there. So if anyone doesn't know, which most people do, I know he was convicted of murder for,
Lara Clarkson.
Lara Clarkson, thank you. And so he was convicted of that and put in prison, and you were there and you testified against him, right? So I know that had to have been hard for you.
It was a super, super stressful time. Flying back and forth to LA from Philadelphia, trying to keep my life together, but having to go to the grand jury and testify and, deal with all the show's hard copy and everything. It was a pretty crazy time. And then when the trial did come around, it was a mistrial, the first one. So having to go through it all over again was pretty horrifying. And I'd had a car accident in between, and, my looks from partying and everything was brought up at the trial, and there were blogs about things. So it was a very stressful, not a very good time.
I bet. Yeah, I couldn't imagine dealing with that. Did you, I know you were so used to being around crazy people.
Yeah,
it was normal, and it was sort of your baseline.
Yeah, so like with the guns and everything, my family, like everybody always had guns. So that didn't bother me, and I didn't think of it being normal people don't really carry guns everywhere they go and are paranoid.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Yeah, it's but did you ever feel just scared or threatened? You just felt like, hey, I don't.
Yeah, and that's why I was involved with the trial, because he had pulled a gun on me, and I did call 911 because I did feel threatened for my life. And that call was still after he had murdered Lara Clarkson, that call was a piece of evidence showing a pattern of behavior. The 911 operator, was there to, testify about it. And most people had not called 911 or reported what happened, but I had actually reported it. And so there was a record of his past behavior, in addition to all the threatening messages he had left me on my answering machine. And I happened to still have that tape in my old answering machine. So they were able to use that as a pattern of behavior.
That's good. Yeah. I know that was hard, but at least you were able to put some justice there to that whole thing.
Yes.
So at least you felt probably.
I do. I feel I was, that happened for them, the detectives, to find me and contact me for a reason. I remember Lara Clarkson's mother hugging me at the trial and thanking me for coming forward, but I didn't voluntarily come forward. They found me, but I felt like I was very glad that I reported the things when it happened.
Yeah.
So, I did my part.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's takes a lot. I know that had to have been hard.
Yeah, he had actually called me after that it all happened, that I'd called the police, and he had wanted me to come photograph Celine Dion in Vegas, that he was working on an album, which he later, I believe they fired him, and I don't think any of the songs he helped produce went anywhere. But yeah, I said absolutely not.
Yeah.
That I was that was enough.
No,
I wasn't going to put
good.
myself in that position again.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't blame you. Yeah. I just, man,
although I would have liked to have photographed Celine Dion. She's one she's one person that I haven't.
Yeah.
But again, I wasn't going to trade my life for that.
Right. The context. Yeah. Yeah. You made the right decision. Yep, for sure. Well, that's, I mean, he actually has passed away since then, obviously. I know a lot of people know this, but just people that don't know the whole story. He has passed away. I guess he passed away in a jail, or prison.
I believe during COVID.
And that felt like you had closed that chapter in your life. It felt like do you feel a relief?
Oh, I definitely feel a relief. It's weird how things, come back. And just like the documentary with Spector, the reason I agreed to be involved with that is because they were showing and talking about Lara Clarkson and what a great person she was, and the life that she led. And, she didn't deserve to die like that. And, I appreciated how they were bringing and concentrating on her as a person.
Yeah.
And also, in showing a lot of Spector's background that a lot of people didn't know, with the mental illness and different things in his family, with his father committing suicide and what he grew up with.
Yeah, I'm a music lover, and I listen to a lot of the music he produced, but I watched the documentary. I didn't know a lot of that. I just thought, like a lot of people, he's just a quirky guy.
I thought it was a great documentary. I was really, I wasn't happy to have to listen to the telephone messages that he had left for me over and over again while they were filming. That got pretty distressing.
Bet.
But in the film, the documentary was well done, and I appreciated all the attention they gave to Lara Clarkson.
Yeah, I can see that. I see how they did that, and it seems like a lot of documentaries like that, and there's so much like true crime stuff out there now, and it almost feels like victim blaming sometimes, but they did the opposite on that, like
Correct.
you say, and it was like,
which some previous movies that were about Spector, I believe the one Al Pacino played in, they highlighted Spector and, left out the true victim and what had happened to her and that she didn't deserve that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but that makes a lot of sense. So the really important thing about all this is what is up with those goofy wigs he wore in that trip. What was he thinking, man? Those giant wigs.
What wigs? What wigs?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he wasn't bald,
he
right?
never admitted to ever wearing a wig, ever, or lips,
so weird,
or things. Yeah,
that's so weird.
Yeah,
it's just I don't understand that.
I don't know if anybody ever will.
That's very interesting. I guess he just lived in his own reality and didn't.
I think when you're, a genius at 17 and revered for your work and you make so much money.
Yeah.
And, it just, you can push the limits and you just keep pushing them and pushing them.
Yeah. You feel like you can do what you want.
Exactly. And, back in the day, people could do what they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
In the music world and in Hollywood. People did do what they wanted. Nobody was ever called out on anything. Or, again, mental illness and substance use was not talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it seems like we're at the 60s up to the 70s and 80s was pretty crazy. Well, in the 90s, obviously, as you can attest to, I'm sure.
Yes. What a long, strange trip it's been.
Yeah, right? Exactly. That's, oh man. I mean, my life has been pretty wild, but that is, yeah, you've lived a full life. That is for sure. Well, let's see. I asked you about the goofy wigs. Well, let's go pivot to something. Another thing that's kind of serious is, when did you decide to get sober?
So, December 27th, 2014. Is my sobriety date. And so that's 8.5 years ago. And, it kind of, I couldn't continue to live a crazy lifestyle.
Yep.
My mental health, my physical health, I was just not doing well. And, a lot of it could have been contributed to some of these, mm-hmm. factors of being, so stressed out over the trial situations and different things happened, mm-hmm. That, I was part of all of it.
Yeah. I understand. Well, I think we share that in common, because in 2014 was when I got sober. Okay. It was like August 2014. That's when I started getting sober. But as far as me, it feels like you say, it's sort of like I was self-medicating. There was some trauma there. Mm-hmm. And once I got to the root of that, that's how I was able to, but you have to make that decision for yourself ultimately. And it's hard, but the cool thing is, and the great thing is, and it's, all this stuff happened, but you're a survivor. You've been through all that stuff, and now you're helping out other people, help them get sober. And you're helping with this. Tell me about the house.
So it's called Best Life Recovery, and it's a women's sober living home here in Huntsville. And so there is 8 women at a time, and I live with the women and my 2 cats at the house. And it's in a very safe neighborhood in Huntsville, in walking distance to jobs. And it's just, helping women that are coming out of detox and treatment and jail, and letting them come into a very safe environment with other women that are trying to, build a new life in sobriety and be a part of the community and get their, start working and being able to get back on their own.
That's so cool. I know that, when I was trying to get sober, I had to finally let go of my ego and accept help. That was part of it, because I'm always, no, I don't want any kind of help. But that's where I had to just completely be like, no, I need help. And then I realized one of the things that keeps me sober is helping others.
Correct. Yes.
So it's like, it was like this hack finally. Oh, that's how you, oh, okay. Yeah. Because then you're focusing on helping others and you're not in your head. And yeah, so I think it's, AA was helpful, but like I say, I feel like the psychology of it and just what was causing me to abuse things in the first place is what really helped me. Was the key. And then just constantly trying to, it's like they say, a day at a time. But yeah, I just really appreciate what all you've overcome and just who you've become. I know it was always there, but now you just help so many people. And I think that's really something to be admired. And if more people were that thoughtful, the world would be a lot better place.
Thank you. Yeah. Nowadays, people are not too kind.
You
see that all the time on the internet.
Absolutely.
And you see it in everyday life. I mean, it really takes nothing to open the door for someone, to smile at someone, to pay it forward with a coffee, or if you see somebody that looks like they're having a bad day, to ask them about it.
I do like to test people. I like to just scowl at people when they come in a coffee shop. I just want to freak them out. No, you're totally right. It's just, and I try to do the best I can, to be helpful and to be nice to people. I feel like no one is better than anyone else, and everyone deserves respect unless they show that they don't, But, and everybody, and before I had my issue, I had a different mindset. I was like, well, just stop, just don't do it. Why are you not just, and I'm like,
It's then not I was that like, easy.
No,
it's not that easy.
That's
to
not
just
how
stop.
it works.
And it's also dangerous. And,
exactly.
Once your brain becomes addicted to certain substances, you cannot stop on your own. You do need medical help.
Yes.
So, and for me, I was told that I was just, self-medicating also. So I was like, oh, that's all it is. I'm just self-medicating.
Yeah.
But once, I just could not seem to function and it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
I, sought out actually going to a meeting, was where I started. And I have to say, working the 12 steps. I mean, everybody could use the 12 steps. It's just a good way to live life as the 12 steps.
Yeah, I think it is a good, it just simplifies things as far as just gives you a systematic way of thinking in a non-toxic kind of way. So I think it is very good.
And also accepting responsibility for your behavior. You know, just because I did have trauma in my past doesn't mean I have to continue to abuse myself or others. Yeah. My part in that would be continuing to relive the trauma instead of getting to the root of it and getting through it and over it. I mean, it wasn't my fault, things that happened to me when I was young. But it's up to me to want to live a better life. And if I stay in that self-pity mode, then that's never going to happen. Yeah. And so, accepting that, for me, if you want to look at it in terms of like, I'm allergic to alcohol. Yeah. As some people would like to say, every time they do a drug, they break out in handcuffs.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I do not react normally to, alcohol or drugs like other people. Mm-hmm. Kind of like if somebody's allergic to strawberries.
Yeah.
And so, that I have to figure out a way to live my life without that. And in today's world, I mean, alcohol is so acceptable. Mm-hmm. You drink alcohol to celebrate. You drink alcohol to, if you're sad, if you're happy. When you hang out with friends, you go to anybody's house, you bring some wine, and it's everywhere in the stores and the commercials, and it just looks like a glamorous life.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what everybody thinks, instead of normalizing, like, alcohol is a poison. And, if you don't do it in moderation, the things that can happen. And I don't know a lot of people that, normally do it in moderation.
Yeah, I can't think of many. I'm the way my personality is, I'm on or all or nothing. I have a switch, not a knob. So it's like, okay, this is either on or off. And so I just, I can't do that. And the rehab I went to, that's kind of what they talked about. You know, like you're saying, it's an actual chemical thing there that happens that creates that. So it's not like as easy as well, just don't do it. It's not how it works. It's there's reasons.
What Nancy Reagan just say no. Just say no.
Just say no. It's easy.
So how are you supposed to say no to a drink when it's advertised everywhere? When that's what society has normalized.
Exactly.
So in trying to make it normal to say no, that it's okay, because I know I couldn't believe when, somebody didn't drink. Like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But that's how I grew up, is that everybody drank. And you drank to excess, and you drank till you passed out, threw up, or it was all gone. There wasn't any moderation involved. And so that's what I thought alcohol was about, and being an adult, and that's what you did, and then going to college. And then, of course, it's just more. And so now I appreciate on college campuses with, CRC, Collegiate Recovery Services,
that's cool.
That they promote being sober, and they have different programs, because when I went, I again thought you drink as much as you can, as quick as you can, and you wake up and you don't know what happened.
Yeah That is familiar sounding.
And today I don't want to live like that. I want to live a healthy lifestyle. I want to wake up and remember, and I want to help others know that it's okay to say no and have a much more productive lifestyle. As some of the women I work with, they're young moms, that it's okay. You don't have to drink. You need to learn how to deal with the stress in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And, instead of with the mommy wine and the mommy juice and all this, that stuff, young girls can just take that to the extreme, and then it's too late. You're addicted to the substance, and you need help. And it's normalizing to be able to get help. And there's a lot more out there, and especially here in Huntsville, the recovery community is, it's amazing. So there's lots and lots of resources here. They just opened its ROS, which is the Recovery Organization of Support Specialists.
Okay.
And they just opened a community center.
Very cool.
So you can go and hang out. There's meetings there. They have a computer lab.
Nice.
They serve 2 meals a day.
Oh, nice. Okay. You can't beat that.
No, so you can meet other sober mind, people that are also trying to stay sober. So I think that's very important to build a community.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the things with me too, just getting to know people going through the same thing. And that's one of the reasons I'm so open about my sobrieties, because if someone hears that, maybe they can be like, oh, okay, you can do that. That's actually possible.
Exactly. There's all these anonymous organizations, but for me, I choose to not be anonymous, because how is anybody supposed to find help? People know that they can call me and I will help them in the right direction, because for me, trying to find help was a problem, and luckily there was the internet, and I was able to find some meetings. But to actually nowadays be able to reach out to a person that's open, and that it's possible, that recovery is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always thought it was weird. It's one of the few things with alcohol, it's okay for people to be like, why don't you drink? It's like, It's like, what does it matter to you, man?
Yeah.
It's like, what does that matter?
And that's, nowadays it doesn't matter, but I didn't tell a lot of my friends that I was trying to quit drinking, because I didn't want to disappoint myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be questioned about it. But then I noticed nobody cared if I was drinking or not drinking. They were all, about their own business.
Sure, yeah.
And it's fine. Other people can, maybe they can have a couple glasses of wine at dinner and be fine. But that wasn't for me. That wasn't my experience.
Exactly. That's kind of the same way I look at it. I mean, if someone's not hurting anybody, that's their thing. But I can't I can't live like
Right.
that. That's not
So
how I work.
if if a friend has had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 DUIs, you might want to think about your drinking and
reassess.
yeah. And again, like, I feel very fortunate that I never hurt somebody with drinking and driving, and I wouldn't want to test that theory out.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I think we've both been lucky, and I'm thankful for that.
And I love my life now, and I love that being able to photograph the people that I did 30 years ago, and like with the Grateful Dead, photographing them through the 90s, and now photographing Dead and Company, and bringing my life full circle, things that I did when my life was strange and wild and wacky, and I'm lucky I survived through it, and now being able to help people and put a different spin on things. And now, I mean, I remember everything, and
exactly.
It's easy. It's not a struggle. It's not a struggle to get up in the morning. I love getting up in the morning.
It's you actually experience things now, and
I can be present and stay in the moment and enjoy people and enjoy what I'm doing. Whereas before, I was escaping with social anxiety, being in certain situations. I was drinking, I'm around a whole bunch of celebrities, and I'm trying to photograph them, and it was just a social lubricant, and then all of a sudden it becomes a habit, and, then it's a sloppy habit, and, and not fun anymore. And so, now, learning as an adult, how to handle social anxiety and different things without drugs or alcohol.
Yeah. I got to say, I'll be honest with you, when for a while there, I was playing a lot and with my band, and I was drinking a lot. I would play shows and not even remember playing the show. I knew that I played it, but I didn't remember it at all. It was just complete blackout. So when I got sober, I tried to edge my way into playing shows again, because music is a part of who I am. But that first show, I was terrified.
It's awkward.
Yeah, it felt so awkward, and I'm awkward, and I roll with it usually, but this was a different kind of awkward, because you get so used to having that as your crutch, the confidence booster thing. And it's so that was probably one of my biggest challenges. And also, you realize how many people in your life are just around you for that sort of fair weather friend, like with the partying.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, wait, where's all my friends? Oh, so that's two of the things. But you get past that, and you meet people that help you and that are going through the same thing. And that's really what helped me, and just getting to the root of everything.
Yes.
With what's causing that.
Yeah. I mean, and most people do have some form of trauma in their life, and that is, causing to, act out in different ways. And whether it's prescription drugs, illegal drugs, alcohol, which is, available everywhere now. And, and now with all the, Delta 8 and the different dispensaries and things, it's a whole new set of problems.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's some people look at alcohol as this or that, but it's all addiction. So
it is
that's
all
the
addiction.
way I look at it.
And alcohol is just sometimes that's the easiest thing for people to get. And I know alcohol was one of the first things I had. And then after everything else, it was the last thing, because it was the easiest thing to get and most available and socially acceptable. And again, using it to celebrate and using it when you're sad and just all the different circumstances.
Yeah.
And plus working in bars,
Oh, yeah, exactly. I sort of took a time off of doing that to kind of reconfigure my internal, whatever you want to call it, brain, whatever's left in there, and make that work. But, this is kind of a weird story, but I don't know why this reminded me of that, but I went to Maine one time on a trip for work. And I remember it being so beautiful there with the lighthouses and the beautiful rocky beaches and stuff. And this lady was like taking us all around, kind of giving us a tour. And I'm like, it's so beautiful here. And like I can't find anything wrong with it. Doesn't anything bad ever happen? They were like, well, we have a real bad problem with bath salts here. I was like, okay. That's the last thing I expected to hear. So I was just, that was funny, but also tragic, but kind of
like the drugs are everywhere, but it's these things that, kids get addicted to or cause, irreversible damage, whether it's having an accident, hurting themselves or someone else, for things, this bath salts, and different kind of gas station pills and these Delta 8 pins and things that people really think are, not going to harm them. Yeah,
because they sort of, a lot of those places, I know they sort of just try to skirt the law just enough to get it out there. And then they're still dangerous.
Yeah. So it's a little, that is one thing here in Huntsville is these gas stations. I find it a little frustrating that all these things that they sell to, young people, and the people don't realize how addictive certain things are.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that is dangerous. I've been sober for a while, but it seems like that's so common now. Like you say, it's more and more lately.
And that's what, helping people learn to love the life that they have so they don't need anything like that or, don't even want to try anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't even get that, those,
just say no.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing. Yeah. Yep. But I've been there, you're looking for a way to kill that pain and you don't even know what you're doing, but then it's your DNA kicks in and like, hey, I like that. Hey, I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. Hey, I like that too much. Hey, you're probably going to die soon. So, yeah.
And people do. And that's what, it's to bring everything down a notch. I mean, there's one young woman that I worked with and she just recently has passed away.
Oh, and, so sorry to hear that.
But that's here in Huntsville. I mean, overdoses happen every day. I mean, it is a reality. And as Huntsville's growing, there's going to be more of that and more of the homelessness and more of, the violence and big city problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the good news is, Best Life has, is a wonderful environment and helping 8 women at a time. And when women graduate, they come back to the program and they still come to our meetings and, continue to help the new women that are there. And so really fostering a community of women helping other women and women that, want to hang around other sober women and do sober activities. And, you don't have to have now they have all kinds of things that you can put wine in, but you don't have to have, the bra with the wine tube in it when you go hiking.
Yeah, I wear those all the time.
I can see that.
But and I'm sure it's I'm not a woman, obviously, but like I've heard that it can be a very vulnerable place for me as a man when I got sober. But I know that it's good to have that feel safe in that environment with just ladies and
that's what I really wanted to provide, a safe environment, because most women come from trauma and there's different reasons why people have gotten, into addiction, but having a safe space with other women trying to, build their new lives in recovery.
I think that's great. And you say it's just that you're taking it one step further by offering them that safe space and, so I think that's great and much needed and greatly appreciated. But yeah, man, this has been great. We've gone the gambit. We got like really goofy and we got really serious and like we kind of went up and down on this.
It was a roller coaster ride.
It is.
It was a long, strange trip.
It is. It always is when you're around one of us. So that's just typical. Well, let's see. Oh, I was going to talk about, you have your photos in an event for Little Orange Fish.
Yes.
Which is a nonprofit organization that helps with mental health issues.
Yes.
For the community.
Yes. So that's this Friday at the Shed at Stovehouse. And I'm going to have a picture of one of the women from my program, from Best Life, and some of her words as to what the pictures are. But I kind of took it along the lines of, what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. And it has to do with, the mental health, how things, with mental health and addiction, just making bad choices and, bad life decisions and living an unhealthy lifestyle. And then what happened to make things change, and then what it's like now, which is, living a healthy lifestyle and working on trauma and, giving back to the community.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great organization too. And I've heard that they do great work. And I was going to say so I know it's this Friday, but
it's a free event, and it's from 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
Yes, at the shed at Stovehouse, and there's going to be artwork that will be for sale, and the money will go be donated to the organization. The Inside Out Studio artist, which is also here at Low Mill, cool. They're going to have work there, and there's going to be musicians, and there will be food, and nice. It'll be just a great event to come support. Daniel, who has Little Orange Fish, support the community.
That's great. Let's see, I know it's Friday. What specific date is that? I could look at my calendar.
I think it's the 20th.
Okay.
The 20th.
So this probably won't
Microwave
come out.
Dave Day is on the 22nd.
Yeah. Our buddy, everybody's
Sunday.
buddy,
yeah.
Microwave
yes.
Dave.
And I will be photographing the event.
Oh, nice.
So
there's another.
For several years in a row now, I've been the photographer, and so I'm very excited.
That's awesome. I got to get Dave on here too.
Yes.
I've been meaning to do that. He's such a cool guy.
And this is where all the women from the house will be volunteering. And again, you can go to events and do things, and you can do it clean and sober.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm all about it. Well, man, Stephanie, it's been great having you on, and thank you once again for letting me invade your photography studio in here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you set up.
Yeah, look at you, all your freak pictures, and we've only got a few in here. She's got a nice collection of them, and you do incredible work, and just such a amazing story that you have. And I know we've only scratched the surface talking about it today, but definitely if you can come around out here to Low Mill in Huntsville, Alabama, if you're around in October, she's got these your freak show pictures, and not just the Jim Rose sideshow, but also some other. You said this was in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yeah, some of them are for Tuscaloosa. Some of them are from other real sideshows when they used to tour with fairs back in the day. But also I will continuously have different exhibits up with the music and with local and national artists. And things will be for sale for the holidays, November and December. And there's just a lot going on at the mill. But for October, it is the Freak Festival here. It's, Halloween.
That's
so
right.
Got to get those freaks out.
You got to. Goes without saying. Well, is there a certain way if someone wants to find out more about your photography studio, or the Best Life? Thank you. You know what I'm thinking.
Yes. So for my photography, SEJ Photo Alabama on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm pretty out loud and about my recovery. So you can find there's Best Life Recovery on Facebook and on Instagram, and you can call me personally. My profile's public, and you can even find me, at Low Mill Studio 2018. And, I'm here when Low Mill's open. And if I'm not because I'm out shooting, you can put a note on the door. But I am, I'm always open to anybody contacting me through Facebook, or they can call me. My number's all over Facebook.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate how open you are about that. And I know you, like I say before, you've helped a lot of people, so it's very admirable. But is there anything else you got that I want to say at the end here?
Well, I'm very excited that Best Life Recovery has officially its nonprofit status. We just celebrated our open house and fundraiser. So we are a nonprofit. So you can go online and see our Venmo and the items that we always need, the necessities that we need at the house to keep it running daily, because it is a safe, sober living environment for women, but it's also at an affordable cost. So in order to do that, we need we need people's donations.
Definitely, and that's definitely a worthy cause. So, yeah, I highly recommend donating if you can. That'd be awesome.
Thank you. And that's my photography goes to support it.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Well, hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for being on here. And hey, we'll see you around next time. And I am Tony Perdue. And if you like what we are hearing on the podcast, or you may be watching the video version, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, or, tell your friends. Like I say, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, make them suffer by having to hear my voice. I'm like an audio scarecrow for your ears. So now, hopefully I'm like honey, like molasses, pouring out molasses on your cereal in the morning. It's the best analogy I can think of. So thank y'all so much, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.